Hey, what's going on, guys? J2K here. Welcome back to another video. In this one, before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to a project that me and my friends have been working on. We finally got our first video uploaded. It's the Comfy Cushion podcast. I know I've been kind of hinting at this for the past couple days and all that, but yeah, we finally have it up. We finally have our first video. We're hopefully going to be getting at least one video in per week, if not maybe two, if we're trying to push on the schedule a little bit. But yeah, definitely go check that out. We need all the support that we can get. So yeah, definitely check that out. But now jumping into the actual video. In this one today, we are going to be going over every single generation of the Raygun. This is going to be a Raygun evolution video. We're going to start from World at War, make our way up all the way to the current game, which is Vanguard. And we are going to talk about the Raygun in each of those games. And at the end, determine which one overall kind of was the best and which one was the worst. And yeah, I got nothing much else to say. That's pretty straightforward, so let's just jump right into it. World at War was the first game in zombies to introduce the Raygun, and was actually the first zombies game. Not only that, it was also the first wonder weapon as well. Now, the Raygun in World at War was sought after greatly because it was the only gun in the game that could get you into the 30s, maybe early 40s as well. So for that, everyone was trying to hit for the Raygun on Nocturne and Toten, which made it really, really sought after. And yeah, for the time being, the Raygun was the gun to use. Even after maps with different wonder weapons like Shinonuma came out with the Wonder Waff, the Raygun was still heavily sought after as just a good secondary weapon to have. And it was literally just because there was no other weapon to kind of just use in the later rounds. So for that, everyone just kind of spun for the Raygun. Now, the Raygun in World at War has a few drawbacks. It's huge in terms of the splash damage. Later in this clip, you'll probably see me down myself with the Raygun, and that's all very bad and whatnot. And PhD wasn't around during this time, so obviously there was nothing to really counteract that splash damage, and when you got cornered, it was pretty much just game over. And for that, it still is a really good Raygun, and I like the whole splash damage effect and the way that it looks. It also has a clean animation when you run around and move around with it, and overall just feels very comfortable to use. Overall, I would probably say that the World at War Raygun is definitely up there at one of the best, but I wouldn't say it is the best out of all the Rayguns. Now, moving on into Black Ops 1. The Black Ops 1 Raygun wasn't very too different from the World at War Raygun. In terms of looks, I'm pretty sure the iron sights, or whatever the ADS sights are, is above the little iron bar instead of below it, which was a little bit weird, especially during the time. Other than that, though, only real big difference is that PhD is now added, which makes the Raygun incredibly useful for this game. Overall, though, the splash damage is still very effective, not as downing you as it did in World at War, but still is very, very effective. Moving on into different kinds of wonder weapons that were released into Black Ops 1, though. However, you had wonder weapons like the Thunder Gun, the Scavenger. You also had the wonder weapon on Moon, the Wave Gun, and the Baby Gun as well from Shangri-La. A lot of guns starting to outshine the Raygun in Black Ops 1, but the Raygun was still heavily sought after because it did make up for and keep up with the rest of these weapons due to the fact that you can now use PhD with it, making it a lot more safer, a lot more viable to use, and with the Black Ops 1's improved mechanics, it was easier to move around with. It looked a lot more clean, especially after you pack-a-punched it as well. And overall, the Raygun during this time was still very, very prominent, but definitely still not one of the best. I would say overall, though, that it is a huge step up from what we had in World at War. Now, moving into Black Ops 2, this is where the game kind of started to take a shift in terms of the effectiveness of the Raygun. First off, you had incredible wonder weapons for this game as well, such as the Vitrolic Withering on Mob of the Dead. You also had the staffs on Origins, which were huge during the time, and the Raygun started to kind of fall off a bit. And what kind of killed its effectiveness in Black Ops 2 was the fact that Jimmy Zielinski removed PhD from this game entirely. It was later brought back into Origins on Black Ops 2, but by that point it was already too late. The damage was already done, and for the most part people kind of stopped using the ray gun because it was like, if you're playing on Die Rise, why use the ray gun when you can use the Solidifier instead? Especially on Black Ops 2 with Transit and later with Buried as well. It also brought in the Raygun Mark II variant, and with the Raygun Mark II, it kind of just made the normal Raygun obsolete because you could only carry either the Raygun Mark II or the Raygun Mark I, and the Raygun Mark II was just far better and more innovative during the time that the Mark I kind of started to get lost in the dust a bit, and this is kind of the turning point for the Raygun. I would definitely say that the Black Ops 2 Raygun is definitely one of the worst of the ray guns, because this is kind of the point where it started turning around due to the lack of PhD and just so many better options to use in Black Ops 2. Even for certain bullet guns like the DSR-50, which could actually one-shot zombies into the later rounds with the inclusion of Double Tap 2.0, it made a lot more bullet-based weapons actually better and more viable to use over the ray gun. So for that, I would definitely say that the Black Ops 2 ray gun is definitely one of the worst. Now, moving into Black Ops 3, this is where the ray gun took a complete fall in terms of usability. Now, with the ray gun in Black Ops 3, there's almost no reason to use it compared to any other weapon that you can pick up from the box, the wall, or just crafting in-game. First off, you had the alternate ammo types that were introduced into Black Ops 3, which made any bullet weapon with deadwire 10 times better than using the ray gun. Now, besides that, you also had the wonder weapons as well being completely broken in Black Ops 3. You still had the thunder gun, you had the apothecary servant, you had the lightning bow as well, and just amazing wonder weapons that just made the ray gun completely obsolete. And with on top of that, there is still no PhD. Granted, there was a gobblegum that you could use called Danger Closest, but nobody ever really ran it because it took up a precious gobblegum slot. And for that, the ray gun just fell completely short in this game, especially because they took away one of the run animations when you are walking around with the ray gun as well. It just kind of seemed like they put the ray gun in Black Ops 3 just for fan service rather than a weapon that actually felt like it needed to be into the game. I could say without a doubt that the Black Ops 3 ray gun is one of the worst. And I would go as far to say the worst out of all of the ray guns in this game. It just felt completely useless and out of place in Black Ops 3, and whenever you saw it in the box, you just never picked it up. So for that, I would definitely say that the Black Ops 3 ray gun is the worst out of all of the ray guns. Now moving on to Black Ops 4, not very different compared to the one in Black Ops 3. There were only very slight improvements made to the one in Black Ops 4. I personally think that the Black Ops 4 ray gun looks better compared to any of the ray guns that we have seen so far. Just looks a lot more clean on all of the maps that it is on, especially on a bright map like you see right here on Togder Toten. Just looks very clean in my opinion. It also does have that new run animation that was missing from Black Ops 3, and overall it just feels a little bit more complete. It still is rendered a little bit useless, however, because there are still many better wonder weapons to use. Granted, not as powerful as the ones in Black Ops 3. You can't compare the Apothecary Servant to the Kraken, but still very, very, I don't know, underwhelming is kind of the word that I'm looking for in terms of the ray gun in Black Ops 4. But it still is kind of just there in a way. At this point in the game, people are kind of tired of trying to use the ray gun, and it's definitely needing of a revival, with hopefully the next game being Black Ops Cold War. Now, speaking of Cold War, the Cold War ray gun is kind of what brought the ray gun back into the meta. Before, especially in Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, the ray gun wasn't doing so well. But with Cold War, Treyarch looked at the ray gun, they realized that it is definitely the most iconic weapon in zombies, and they decided to bring it back strong within this next game being Cold War. They gave it a huge damage boost first of all, so that it can compete with late game guns and can actually be used for as a high round strategy as well. To counteract that, they also made it incredibly rare to get out of the box in challenges. It almost seems like every time I play D Machine, I don't get a ray gun until like round 30, which is a little bit ridiculous. but it is definitely worth it and fair. Other than that though, the Raygun also paired with Ring of Fire is just very good, can delete any of the bosses in the game, and it brought back the splash damage that was missing from Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. Overall, I would say that the Cold War Raygun is definitely the best out of all the Rayguns. It kind of brought back that sense of you getting excited whenever you saw it come out from the box. The Raygun also has a new inspect animation due to the Cold War system, which just made it feel a lot more alive in a way. I know there is like a slight little glitch with that inspect animation where like the bullet kind of comes out of the gun a little bit, but it still is very effective and probably up there with some of the best wonder weapons in the entire game. And for that, I would definitely say that the Cold War Raygun is the best Raygun of all time. Alright, so now I kind of have to talk about Vanguard because it is technically a Treyarch game and it does have the Raygun. So I don't really have any Vanguard footage of the Raygun, so I want to give a huge shout out to Billy Z for this gameplay footage. I'll leave his link in the description so you guys can check him out. Other than that though, I would say that the Vanguard Raygun is very, very similar to the Cold War Raygun. It was pretty much just ported over completely, but with the Vanguard system, it makes it a little bit worse. Unfortunately, it is definitely up there with some of the better ray guns, which is sad to say. Only thing that I don't really like about it is that it has like a huge like knockback effect every single time you shoot it. Like the recoil is very huge, and that's just with the Vanguard systems in general. They still ported over that same glitch with Cold War where you can kind of see the bullet peeking out of the gun whenever you inspect it, which is also just really funny and whatnot. Kind of shows what Vanguard was really made for. And other than that though, I got nothing much else to say with the Cold War the Vanguard Raygun. It is pretty much just a Cold War Raygun, and for that, I mean, there's not much else I can really say about it. Up there with some of the best, but I would say that I would much rather prefer the Cold War Raygun overall. To wrap off this video, I would definitely say that the Black Ops 3 Raygun is definitely one of the worst, and the Cold War Raygun is the best. Now, with that, the Raygun obviously is still and will always be the most popular weapon in gaming history. There's so many memes on it, like Lex doing this.
Oh, yo, revive me, I have the Raygun, man. I got the Raygun, dude. I got the Raygun, come on, man, come on. Tap it, dude, tap it,
and also newer memes like Ronald Raygun and funny stuff like that. But overall, I would definitely say that the Raygun will always go down as one of the best weapons in gaming history. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video for today. If you did enjoy, definitely leave a like, subscribe, do all that. So you already know what to do. Leave a comment down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. And I'll just remind you guys again, definitely subscribe to the podcast, the Comfy Cushion podcast. I'll leave a link to it down in the description. Definitely check that out. We need all the support we can get, like I said before. And yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.